it's weird because like they made the characters very simple. If that makes sense, like not.
Isn't that just a downstream of like kawaii culture and things?
Well, no, I think it's like the way I look at it is like you've got like because like always the biggest argument like that I've always heard like at Comic Cons and stuff is who would win, Goku or Superman, and I understand why that argument exists because Goku and Superman are very similar characters when you look at it.
No.
They are. Goku is from an alien planet who is adopted by a human family, so is Superman. Goku discovers he has loads of powers, so does Superman. They discovered them really early on. That's what I'm saying. They're very similar characters. They're not the same.
Well, culturally speaking, they're very different characters.
But in like, if you look at it in the terms of like, Goku fights for justice. Superman fights for the justice in the American way and stuff like that. Like, it's very much they are similar characters. I think the thing about that defines them is as different is I can see stories like Injustice for Superman where he becomes the bad guy as great, and I would call bullshit on a story where Goku goes evil.
Yeah, but that's because culturally they're very different characters.
They're very different.
Goku comes from.
I wouldn't say they're like.
What's the name of that story? The Chinese story, Journey to the West. Journey to the West.
Kakarot.
Like Goku is like a downstream inspiration of Journey to the West, and a lot of the bits and pieces you can actually see are almost ripped off. The monkey came from Journey to the West.
Yeah.
Rides a cloud, which could literally just be looked at as Nimbus from the Dragon Ball Z series, whereas Superman comes from. When was he first? He comes out of the trauma of the Second World War in the States, really, doesn't he? He's Jewish in the early stories and everything.
No, he was just created by two Jewish men.
Oh, he's created by Jewish men.
Yeah,
but
it's like Captain America as well was created by two Jewish guys.
They're probably very similar characters in that mythology tends to value things like
I'll put it.
So it's a very easy thing to plop your hero in.
I'll put it this way. Like I think most people will conflate it to, and I would as well, to the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Are very similar more so than the original, because the thing about it is Superman in the early days, he couldn't fly. He could only leap buildings within a single bound. Is kind of like, so eventually he just kind of developed a lot of powers, but like he has so many bullshit powers. Essentially in the comics years ago, because people didn't care. People just wanted to see how Superman would win. They knew he was.
Serialization was a thing.
So he had one of his powers was that he could put his hand out and fire mini Supermen out of his hands that of all the same powers that Superman does, which theoretically means that they could even fire out an even smaller Superman that could do the same thing.
This is why the my superhero could beat up your superhero is the most tedious argument ever.
No,
because the answer is in there. If it was the
Superman
comic, Superman would win, and if it was an episode of Dragon Ball Z, Goku would win. It's just as simple as that.
But it's the weird thing for me is that I actually think that's why Kryptonite was introduced. Because I think that's when the birth of like the modern age of kind of how we tell comics, not even how we tell comic book stories works. Because like years ago, it was just a single issue. There might have been a 2-part issue, that would have been a big deal.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like you've like fucking arcs. Like there's a story called The Superior Spider-Man where Dr. Ock takes over Peter Parker's body, and it goes on for 30 issues. Basically, he decides that the best way he can get revenge on Spider-Man is by being a better Spider-Man.
Right.
And he kind of does it until it all goes to shit in the end.
Sure.
Yeah, it's also because he gets all of Peter's memories, so he understands why he's Spider-Man. So Otto was abused. Dr. Ock was abused by his father as a child, but Peter had no parents, but learned why parent responsibility is an important thing that Otto never learned. So Otto now learns why parent responsibility work. He's a more malicious version of Spider-Man. He builds like claws into his like suit and shit, and beats like the ever living fuck out of enemies and stuff. He also builds a spider. He gets someone builds him like a bat signal, and he then points out why that's a stupid idea. And
fourth wall breaking is part of the Spider-Man thing, isn't it?
That's Deadpool.
Well, yeah, but Spider-Man does it to a lesser extent, doesn't he? It's
all characters kind of
the joking humor.
Yeah, a lot of characters do it. I like my favorite kind of level of professional trolling that Marvel have ever done was they did a comics run where it was like Spider-Man and Deadpool had teamed up, and they just go to see the Marvel hero equivalent of Batman versus Superman, and then they point out exactly why that movie doesn't work in a single like panel. Like the stuff like, why did they stop fighting? Because their moms had the same name.
I think the comic book genre is hilariously well suited to doing that fourth wall stuff, just because of where it sits now.
Yeah,
in comparison to everything else.
And that's why I think that's why I think Deadpool did so well though. Deadpool took no prisoners, and the sequel took, because like the first one had to hold a bit back, I guess, because Fox. So what happened was Ryan Reynolds. I'm gonna say it's Ryan Reynolds leaked the test footage. It was probably him. The internet freaked out. Fox greenlit the movie within 6 hours. Like,
yeah,
and then they said, oh, it's gonna be a PG-13 movie, and then on April Fool's Day they announced that it's actually an R-rated movie, and I think that's perfect. They released it on Valentine's Day. It had like the greatest marketing campaign. I think any film, it's had the great. They did like the whole recut trailer thing to make it a Valentine's Day romantic comedy style movie. They used to text each other skull, poo, and then the letter L, say Deadpool, like in emojis. They then made that into a poster. Like, apparently the entire Fox marketing team got involved because they just wanted to.
Yeah, but that's because they actually get to have some fun, which...
Deadpool 2.
I'm not gonna lie, I generally don't like superhero movies and comic book movies. Like, Marvel, I get, is very big and very important, and you could say very interesting things. I don't care. Like, do they... I don't want to, for spoiler, but do they, like, come back at the end of Endgame or something? Like, so, does it end happily? Was I right all along?
So what happens is, like, I can actually explain, because I think it's fair. They have killed characters off that have stayed dead, and like people say, oh, but like when they do something like, oh, they killed Nick Fury off, and then he comes out back and like, Nick Fury is a super spy. I'm sorry, like characters like that don't just like die like a bitch. I'm really sorry, they just don't.
Yeah, but
like, he has a plan. His backup plans have backup plans. Like,
yeah, but like this,
yeah,
it's such an overworn trope to me that I just can't. I just don't like them at all.
So there's a planet in Endgame and Infinity War where when you go to it to get the Soul Stone, you must sacrifice something you love.
Sure.
So one of the Avengers actually does die.
Okay.
Getting the Soul Stone and doesn't come back because she can't.
Yes.
Now, there was an exception because in the previous film, another character to survive or to get sacrificed, they brought her back, but with a caveat. No, they brought her back with a caveat. It's not the same character.
That's not the point.
It's a version of the character from the past that has none of the experiences that previous character had. So it's effectively a clean slate. So it can be argued it is the same character, but it can also be argued that now that character has more to go around and do. They also killed Iron Man, and Captain America. Well, kind of. He went back in time and then grew old. So
in fairness, most of it, the entire thing was kind of the Iron Man story.
Ended.
Doesn't it kind of start after the Iron Man movie, when he kind of announces that he's Iron Man, and then slowly but surely it all starts to come together.
The first movie was Iron Man, and I think what's kind of, because what I do want to do is I do want to like get you to watch them and then review them, like watch them and straight up we will record your response.
It'll turn into Yahtzee Croshaw and just snarking.
It's really weird because there are some of them that I do think you will like, because
there are definitely gonna be bits and pieces that I love. It's just, as a narrative framework, I really don't like superhero movies because, like, take the modern trend of superheroes being so regretful about the problems they've caused and the damage and destruction. It's like, yes, congratulations, welcome to any other narrative ever about conflict and war. Like,
I don't think they're all that though. I think what's kind of,
there was a huge trend of them though.
No, what it was that Batman vs Superman and Captain America: Civil War ended up releasing like weeks or months within each other. I think weeks pretty much. The end of March and start of May, so weeks within each other. And the start of Batman v Superman starts with Bruce Wayne running through Metropolis at the end of Man of Steel, where Superman basically has a fight with the bad guy from that movie and levels Metropolis entirely, and like that's the way they chose to show it, and I respect that, because it was actually, like, put it this way, the intro to that movie is actually, like, I watched it and I was like, this might be good, and then the rest of the movie happened. like, I'll put it this way.
Tricked by CG once again.
Do you know what? I'm gonna put it this way. Avengers Endgame has some of the best fucking, like, Marvel have actually, what Marvel have done for the film industry that is actually kind of impressive is that, like, a decade before, when you had films like the Star Wars prequels where, like, the backgrounds and stuff looked so fake. There is a scene, I might show it to you in a bit, with where Captain America fights himself from the past. The only thing that is real in this scene is the two actors. Yeah. So the shields aren't real, the walkway they're standing on isn't real, the background isn't real. But if you watch the movie, it looks good.
They made it well.
But like that's what I'm saying. They actually like they have worked on like they've pumped money into a lot of like special effects stuff. All the Iron Man suits, the Iron Man suits kind of look meh because obviously they started off being real, like props that Robert Downey Jr. wore.
And they turned into sci-fi.
It's because they become gradually more fantastical. Like the one he has in Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame is nanotech.
Yeah.
So
they turn into sci-fi.
It's within his skin, but I think what's kind of great about it is that they actually gave him nanotech, and then it starts off looking really overpowered. But then they show like the one big flaw of this suit. If you break the nanobits, the suit's kind of fucked. It's a very weak suit compared to the other, like structurally weak compared to the other ones, which is kind of I quite like that they showed that. They didn't go, oh, he's got this suit and he's a god now, so bow before Iron Man. It's like, no, Iron Man still gets the absolute fucking shit beat into him in this suit. They don't go like two ways about it. He gets his ass beat. Like he does. It's actually weak to stuff that his other suits were able to fight off because he made the sacrifice switching to nanotech for a very, very, very specific reason. But you will see it eventually. But I forgot where we were. So talking about Batman v Superman and Captain America Civil War and why you were talking about the superhero movies about being like the regret. Basically, they both came out, like that's where that movie started.
Yeah.
And then the whole plot is that Batman wants to stop Superman because he's just a destructive force. Captain America Civil War came out, and it was basically the plot was in Avengers 2, Ultron's big plan was that he lifted a big city up and then was going to drop it and cause basically the same meteor that killed the dinosaurs idea. And the governments of the world wanted the Avengers to be held accountable because Iron Man created Ultron.
That's such a convoluted plot.
It's not really. So like basically he laces the entire city with a material called vibranium. So the idea is the city was going to break up, and then it was just going to be this vibranium pole that just hits the earth. That's like, and then you think that's weird?
Like, there's like so many. Okay.
There's actually schematics for a weapon like that.
I know, but like there's easier ways to do that without picking up a city.
Yeah, but
like. Anything that can survive
you don't insult.
Is a weapon of mass destruction.
But essentially, the half the Avengers agree with it and half of them don't. But the idea is that they don't agree with it because they agree that they're a force of destruction or they regret what they've done. It's more so that they can still do what they do. So I think like as much as the idea is still there, the context around the decision of the idea is different. I think that's why it worked better, to be honest, because like. Batman is meant to be like the world's greatest detective, and he couldn't figure out that Superman was just trying to stop this guy from enslaving and destroying the earth. They kind of gloss over that whole part where Batman's meant to be the super genius. It's really stupid.
I don't like superhero movies. A lot of the time, the basic narratives fall apart under the decision of Jesus Christ, we want to have another fight scene.
I feel like this episode, as much as it was meant to be about mass media,
ranting and raving and wandering, wobbling.
This superhero, this is gonna be called "I don't like superhero movies" but. I feel like that's the title. That's the fucking title of this episode. Either that, or I'm cutting this entire like segment. I'm just going lost episode.
Poor laptop.
Yeah, like oh my god, how far into it are we?
At the moment, about 38 minutes, and I believe at least 15 minutes of that is us ranting about superheroes. Because
we're gonna.
I don't know how to stay on topic. But